Hello everybody and welcome to Adobe Max. My name is Valentina V and I am a filmmaker, photographer, and teacher in Los Angeles. I have the honor of being an Adobe Max Master, which means that I am one of the top people teaching over here. Welcome to S6841, which is Adobe Premiere Pro for social media video creation. Hopefully this is going to be the absolute best session you go to all of Adobe Max. At least that is I'm crossing my fingers for that. Today we are going to be talking about finding music and editing to the beat, time-saving timeline tips, customizing a graphics template, and reformatting your video for different socials. And if you're wondering, are you going to be able to cover all of that in 30 minutes? Just watch. We're going to do it and it's going to be great. So let's go on. Let's open Premiere. Let's see what we're working with. Let's see what we got. All right. So here in the project panel, we have our bins, which I have numbered and given names to. We have footage, music, sequences, graphics, and exports. In our footage folder, we have two different types of footage. If I double click it, it pulls up into the thumbnail view or the icon view, as Premiere calls it, and we can see all this different footage. It was shot in 120 frames per second, which means it was shot in slow motion, and it plays back in 120 frames per second in slow motion. However, some of this footage was shot in 60 frames per second, which is also slow motion, but it's not automatically interpreted to the frame rate. So our standard frame rate is 23.976, but if we go take a look at this folder that has the 60 frames per second in it, we can see that their frame rate is 59.94. So first of all, if we play it through, it's not going to play back in slow motion, it's going to play back in regular speed. So let's take a look. Yeah, just hold it. Look at the camera and just hold the gaze. Ready? 3, 2, 1. If we want to make it slow motion, we just have to select the first clip over here and then go to the last clip while holding down Shift to select everything, right click, go to Modify Interpret Footage, and then here in the frame rate selection, do assume this frame rate and write the new frame rate, which is our standard frame rate at 23.976 frames per second. And that is going to turn all of those clips into now slow motion clips. Excuse it, it's going to go very, very slow. Right? So now it's in slow motion. So now that we have our clips here in slow motion, let's make a select sequence. So we'll go to the sequences folder, and while the sequences folder is selected, we'll go down here to new sequence, and our new sequence will go to RE 1080, RE 1080p 23.976. That's going to be our sequence size, and we're going to name it string out, because this is all of the best pieces of each clip are going to be in the string out, and we're going to press OK. So now we have a new timeline over here, and we can start choosing the best sections out of each clip. For example, if we go back to the footage folder, we go back into the 60 frames per second folder, we click on the first clip here, you can see that not all of the clip is going to be usable. There are parts of the clip where maybe she is out of focus or she's not, doing the right thing. So we're going to be choosing the parts of the clip that are the best and just putting them directly into the string out sequence by going I and O on your keyboard and then going period. So the shortcuts are I, O, and then the period shortcut. So we'll go to the beginning of where we want to grab the footage from. Let's see, kind of like it over here. So I'll go I, then watch it until a time where I feel like that's enough. I only want this section of the clip. Okay, right there, she's kind of like stumbling, so I don't want that. So I'll go a little bit earlier. I'll press O, and that means that I have indicated my clip selection here with the light gray. And then all I do is I press the dot button, and that pops it into my timeline over here. So now it is in my timeline. If I expand it a little bit, I'll be able to see the thumbnail of that clip. I'll go to the end of the clip by pressing the down arrow on my keyboard, and I can keep going on this same initial clip, finding areas that I want to use. See, she's laughing. I don't like that, but I like this. So I'll go in, out. No, it's a little shaky. So maybe I'll go in, out. So I and O, and then period to drop that in. Let's go. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Let's see. I. Maybe I like this little light flicker. And O, and then period, and I will build my select sequence. I'll build my little string out here. Maybe I've done all of the 60 frames per second, so now I'll go move on to the 120 frames per second clips. I don't like any of this clip, so I'm not going to use it. I'll go to the next one. All right. Ooh, this looks good. Right where she kind of spreads her arms apart, I kind of want to start there, so I'll go I. She spreads her arms apart, and then O, and then I'll press period again. And do you see how that adds it without the audio? Because the 120 frames per second clips were without audio, whereas these with 60 frames, those were with audio. Well, I can get rid of the audio by either unlinking them, so selecting them all, going right click, unlink, and now the audio is free for me to just put a marquee box and delete it. Or I can just hold down Alt and drag a marquee box around just the audio and delete it. So let's just say that we've done the whole string out. So here's the whole string out all together. I used a piece of it for this intro, so I'm just going to clear the markers in and out. So this is the whole string out. I took all of the clips from everything that was shot that day, and I only chose the best stuff, and I put it down here in the string out, so that I could later, I don't have to look through all of the clips all at once. I could just look at, okay, what clips were in this string out and be able to see them. Now, this is slow motion, so if I want to play through them a little bit quicker, I can use the JKL keys on my keyboard. That is JKL. The J is going to be a rewind, and the L is going to be a fast forward, and the K is going to be a stop. So if I say L on my keyboard, if I press it once, it's going to go twice as fast. If I press it twice, it's going to go 4 times as fast. But that way I can scrub through my timeline so that I can see everything a little bit quicker for later. All right, so let's say I already have my entire, string out. It's all done here. Ignore this little graphic that I made because I just added it for the purposes of this presentation. Say that, for example, you do have something on a second row and you want to just hide it temporarily. You can disable it by going right click and clicking the enable button. So that is disabling it. Or you can just go Shift E and that will also disable it. That way you can see everything that's underneath. Okay, so I have created my string out. Here are all of the clips from all of the takes that I've done. So now what am I to do? Well, let's start our project. So we'll again go to the sequences folder. We'll again go to new sequence or new item, new sequence. And here we will name this sequence. We will name it, let's do commercial. Yeah, we'll name it commercial. All right. And we'll say, okay, so now we have a new sequence and this is our commercial sequence. And the first thing that I like to do is figure out what music am I going with. Now, if you already have a song that you want to use, that it's approved for you to use, that's fine. But Premiere Pro has built in a music library that you can use and then license the tracks if you so decide that you want to use them. So for me, I'm going to go into Window and into Essential Sound. It'll pop up over here, but just so you can see it a little better, I'm going to put it over here, move that window so you could see it a little bit better. So now under Moods, I'm going to select Dynamic. That's what I want. I want to find a dynamic song. Under Genres, I want to do Electronic and Pop. And then I can even select, I'm going to make this a whole window bigger by using the tilde key shortcut, which is this one. It's on the top right of your keyboard, and if you press it, you can make the entire window bigger. I'm going to do, for filters, I want the tempo to be pretty fast, so I want it to be between 127 and 250. I want the duration to be a maximum 1 minute, and vocals, it doesn't matter. So here I have all of the, let's do that. Here I have all of the different options for me. So let's play a few and see if I can find the one that I want to use. That one's pretty good. Nope. 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 I like that one. It's called Fresh and Hot. So with the Fresh and Hot track, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just drop it into my timeline. Let me clear this in and out. But I'm also, once I'm ready to purchase it, I can press the license button and I can license this track. It's very important to license your tracks and not to just use them willy-nilly. So I'm just going to drop it in over here, and voila, it is now in my timeline over here. And also you can see that it has added it to a folder called Stock Audio Media, and it's here in Fresh and Hot. So if I want, I can move this folder into my music folder so that it's there for what I need it and it's a little bit more organized. One sec, my zoom tool needs readjusting real quick. There we go. Okay, so now that I have this track, let's go ahead and listen to it, because we're going to place some markers on the track to help us place our footage better later. So let's zoom in on this track, and you can already kind of see the waveform here. So I can already kind of see where my beats are going to be. The one thing that I can tell already is that it's clipping, and you can tell in the actual decibel reader over here that it's going to be clipping when I play it. Yeah, it is way too loud. So I can just take this line, which is the volume line, and drag it down a little bit so that it's not as loud. That's perfect. I also know that it's starting right here. So what I want to do is I want to cut off the section between where the timeline starts and where the track starts. I want to cut that off. So one way I could do that is go to the blade tool, I believe. Yeah, the razor tool, place a cut here, select this, delete it, and then move this over. So that's the simplest way to do it. You can also place your playhead, which is your blue line there, and use the Command K shortcut, or Control K if you are on a PC. So it's Command and then K. So that will place a cut right there on your timeline, and then you can select that with the V tool, delete it, and move it over. So that's another way you could do it. But the much simpler way to do it is to just place your playhead where you want that cut to be and press Q. Q will get rid of everything from the beginning to your playhead, or from the previous cut to your playhead. Sounds good. So now what I can do is I can place markers up here on my timeline so that I can then snap my footage to those markers and I don't have to guess where all those beats are located. So as I listen to it, I'm going to hold my finger on the M button on my keyboard, and that's going to place those markers. And also I am going to lock this track so that I can't touch it anymore. Let me lock the track. That way I have no access to it, and I can't accidentally mess with it. So finger on the M. So every time I did a beat, that marker appeared here. So let's go to the sequence where all the markers are, all the markers are placed here anyway. Yeah, let's just live with this. So now I have my track here, I have all my markers placed. Let's start placing my footage. But my footage is here in this string out sequence, and here is my actual working sequence. So what do? Well, you can pancake your sequences. So you can take this string out sequence, select it, drag it down underneath, and now they are pancaked. Or do the opposite, drag the commercial sequence underneath. And now what I can do is I can take a look at, okay, well, here are my clips. Let's just do rooftop clips for now. Let's drag the rooftop clips that I find the best, that I find the most relevant, onto this particular sequence. So I like this clip right here, and I like this clip right here. So let's drag them. Let's drag this clip in. It's a little bit long, but that's okay. Let's drag this clip in. Let's keep going. Let's drag, let's say, this clip while she's walking in. So we're dragging it, but of course the clips that we're dragging are going to be way longer than our actual audio clip, right? So let's just skip to the end. Let's say that we've dragged everything as far as we can. So right here. Okay, so we've added a bunch of footage to this sequence, and obviously the footage is way too long for the actual track, right? But we do have the markers and everything set up here. So what do we do? Well, let's take a look. Let me close up this essential sound panel so we have a little bit more room to play with. Remember that Command Q that cut everything from the previous cut to the playhead? Well, we can also use W, which is going to cut everything from the playhead to the next cut. But let's see. First of all, let's go to this first clip and see what's up. So right here, at this beat drop that happens right here, what I want is, in the clip itself, I want the light leak to happen. And the light leak happens like right there. So that's where the light leak happens, but I want it to drop here. So one thing I could do is, while having this clip selected, press M, and that's going to introduce a marker right here on the clip itself. I can go to that place in the timeline, press M, that's going to introduce a marker right here, and now all I have to do is line up those markers. It will automatically snap for me, so that light leak happens right when that beat drops. I can extend this a little bit. Oh, and it has a little bit of an effect on it already, but let me take that effect off for now. So check that out. And I like this beat as well. I could see it visually, so maybe I want to change it to the next clip. So I'm just going to scooch the next clip over until it hits that beat. Okay, let's move that over. And again, it's on that marker. Let's go to this marker again. Now extend it a little bit, move that over. So basically I'm editing this without even really looking at it. One thing that I do want to mention is check out, actually, do I like this clip? No, I don't like this clip. I'm going to delete it. I can either delete it by just holding it and deleting it, or I can ripple delete it. So right click and go to ripple delete, and that will just ripple the next clip over. What I want to do is actually put this clip, which is the close-up version of this clip right here, and I want to put it right after this clip. So I want to put this clip right here, right? But I don't want to overwrite it. So I'm going to select a clip, and as I'm dragging, I'm going to press Alt and Command at the same time, and then I'm going to put it in. And what that does is it ripples the clip after it without overwriting it. So yeah, because I want this, the ultra wide, right? The full body, and then in the next shot I want the medium, and then in the next shot I want the close-up. The only problem with the close-up is that she's looking in the other direction. In this one she's looking to the left, in this one she's looking at the right, and then in the next one she's looking at the left again. So what do? Let me just quickly grab a horizontal flip effect. So I'll go here to Effects, and you can type in horizontal flip, horizontal. There it is, just drop it on, and there we go, horizontal flip effect, and it now goes from the wide to the medium to the close-up. So let's go to the part where everything is already lined up and cut. And of course I have pre-done that sequence for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So this is all the footage. It's already been cut up. Let's see what that looks like. It's a 15-second little video. One thing that I did do was I put in a cross dissolve right here because I felt like each of these clips was too short on their own. Also, I slid a couple of clips over. So one thing that you can do, for example, this clip right here, the marker was actually over here at first. I misjudged the marker. So the cut was over here instead. So what I did was, instead of going ahead and replacing the marker, then moving this over here, then moving this over here, that is way too many steps. All I did was I see it visually. I see that the cut needs to be here, and I use the N command on my keyboard, N. And N is going to go ahead and do a ripple, the technical name for it is a rolling edit tool. It's going to roll the edit over to where the playhead is. So once you select N, it's going to turn into this indicator right here, and you can just roll that edit over like that, just in case, the marker wasn't exactly placed exactly the way that you want it. So now what I want to do is I want to add a graphic up top. So I'll go to Window, Essential Graphics, and I'll choose a graphic that I want to add. I'll go to Browse, Adobe Stock, Free, and I will type in title, and I will see what titles are available here. And there's lots of different titles. There's pages and pages of titles, so I can go through them and see and audition ones that I want to use. Let's see, which one do I want to use? Which one do I want to use? I like this one called Sliding Pop Art Title, and I can hover over and kind of see what it looks like and what it's going to be and preview it. So I'm going to just drag it directly onto V2 in my timeline, and I can see exactly what it's going to look like. Let me mute the audio just for now so that it's not distracting for us. So this is what it looks like here. Perfect. It's a little too long, so I can just move it over. I want it just over the first two clips in my timeline. I just want it here. Now I can go ahead and click into it and write what I need. So it's the designer. I'll use the designer's name. And then I'll do some other things, like, for example, say that this is not my brand font. So League Gothic is not my brand font, it's Proxima Nova. So I'll go ahead and change it to Proxima Nova. I can go ahead and adjust the fill of the box, maybe to something that matches the vibe of this video a little bit more, something like that. I can even go ahead and change the color of the font to white. There we go. Change the color of the second box as well. It's blue right now, so let's change it to like a nice orangey sunset color. There we go. And I can even change the opacity of this box as well. So let me change the opacity of it. There we go. So maybe I want 2 lines instead of that 1, so I can make it on 2 lines. I can increase the size of the word lolly, select all of them by going to Command A, changing the spacing, something like that. And there we go. So let's actually go to what it'll look like eventually. And this is what it'll look like when it's all done and I have added my brand font and colors. All right, well, I have this sequence. I called it 05 graphics added because that's the step that we're on currently in this tutorial. And I want to also make a vertical version of this. So maybe I'm putting this on my Instagram story and not on YouTube, or I'm changing this for different social medias. So what I can do is right click and go to reveal sequence in project so I can find it easily in my project. There it is, graphics added. I can duplicate it by right clicking, going to duplicate, and then changing, I'm going to change the name of it from graphics added to, let's do graphics added, let's do vertical, right? So all I've done was duplicate it. So when I open graphics added vertical, there it is. Now it's open. It's the same thing. Nothing has changed. So I'll go to sequence settings, and I'll change the sequence settings. Right now it's 1920 by 1080, but what I want it to be is 1080 by 1920. And now you can see the aspect ratio is now 9:16. So then I'll press OK. It's going to say, oh, you're changing it up? Yes, I am. And now you can see the footage isn't exactly aligned, but it's close. So what I can do is over here in the motion controls and effect controls, I can change the scale of it. I can move it over slightly. Then I'll go to the second one. I will also change the scale of it, and I will move it over slightly, reposition it. Then this one, I can change the scale of it. I can reposition it. But you know what? That takes a really long time to do that for every single clip. I wish there was a way we could automate this. You guessed it, we can. So you can go instead, let's go back to our graphics added sequence over here. And let's just like get rid of all of the other sequences over here just so that we're not confused. So we'll go right click and we'll just close other timeline panels. So we're not deleting them, we're just closing them so that we can focus on the one. So here is our 16:9 video. What we want to do is make it a vertical video, right? So we'll go right click, reveal sequence in project. So there it is right here. And we'll right click on it, and instead of going to duplicate, what we are going to do is select auto reframe sequence. And this is going to be artificial intelligence that's going to auto reframe it for us. So it asks us, what is your new sequence name? What do you want it to be? So let's name it 06. No, let's keep it 05, but let's say like the 5th version. I like to name my sequences with numbers. 05, and we'll say graphics added vertical auto reframe. And it's going to ask you, what is your target aspect ratio? So let's go make it vertical 9:16. And then it's going to ask, what kind of motion is evident in your clip? So for me, it's very slow motion. So I'm going to say slower motion and don't nest the clips, por favor. And I'm going to say create. And what it's going to do is it's going to automatically reframe it for me. So let's see what it does. Pretty good, right? At least with these 4 clips, and with a lot of the clips trailing, but there's a couple of clips that aren't reframed perfectly. Right? And you guessed it, those clips are on the close-ups. So what we are going to do is we are going to override the auto reframe. You can see the auto reframe happened here, and it actually it disabled my motion controls. So instead of disabling the motion controls, I'm going to enable them, and then I'm going to move this physically by myself. And same thing with this clip over here. I'm going to enable the motion controls and move it over so that we can see the collar piece. And same thing with this last clip, enable the motion controls so we can see the collar piece. You'll notice also that the actual graphic was also adjusted, but if I want to make it bigger, I'll go ahead and go to the motion controls, not the vector controls, very important, not the vector motion controls, the regular motion controls, and I will scale it up. And there we go. I can go ahead and export that if I want by going to Command M. And then, that is a very big window that happened all of a sudden, and I don't know. Hold on one sec. Let me make it smaller. It might be because I changed my monitor settings just for this demo. So as long as you are on H.264 over here, you'll be able to export it as vertical. And then the preset, I just use match source height bitrate, and we'll go ahead and select the exact place where we want to export that. So we'll go to, where was that? Dana Fashion. We'll go to exports and we'll export it here. Graphics added, vertical auto reframe. We'll say save and we'll go export, and then that'll be our video there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that it provided exactly what I intended to provide here, which was how to find music and edit to the beat, how to save time in your timeline, how to customize a graphics template, and how to reformat your video for different social networks. My name is Valentina V. You can find more of me on my website, valentinav.com, or on Twitter at valentinav, or on Instagram at valentina.v, or now on TikTok at valentina_V. I hope you have a great rest of your Adobe Max, and I hope you learned something new. Bye, everybody.